And so to wrap things up, we have Nhan. It looks like Nhan, but it's pronounced Nhan, but that is very opposite of his personality. He is going to really wake you up with his energy. I call him the Energizer Bunny. And I just want to say that I have loved getting to know these gentlemen. My mother teased me that they were all becoming my best friends as we were getting this activity off. So Nhan will tell you about his personal experience. All right, thank you.
All right, how's everyone doing tonight? All right, guys. Well, to start off real quick, I'm a little different kind of speaker. I like to move around a lot. Hope you guys don't mind. All right. I truly believe that in anything, all right, we require energy, because energy creates a force, you guys, and force creates what? Movement. Are we in a movement today? Okay. So I asked you guys earlier, how are you guys doing tonight? I didn't feel a lot of energy. I know it's late at night, and I know it's Monday, but at least it was sunny earlier. Would you guys agree? Right? So let's try that one more time. How's everyone doing tonight? Great! Perfect, guys. Well, for those who don't know me, my name is Nhan, and let me go ahead and go through my background. I have a master's in aerospace engineering at NC State University. I was taught to go to school, get good grades, and go get a good job, and that's exactly what I did. I'm also have worked at multiple federal agencies, such as NASA, as an engineer, Homeland Security, unfortunately, Department of Defense, and several other agencies supporting certain things that were classified that I thought were very important at that time in my life. Okay. On top of that, I've lived in Northern Virginia since 2004, and married with 5 kids. All right. Can you guys believe that? All right. In fact, my wife, Mary Rose, is here, so please wave your hand. Say hi, Mary Rose. My stepson is a sophomore at George Mason. He's also here, so hey, hi, Matt. All right, very proud of them. And actually today, I am no longer an engineer. I am recovering from that field. And I currently own and operate multiple businesses here in Northern Virginia and across the country. All right? But that's what I am today. Now, that's very boring. All right, so let's go ahead and turn back the clock on tonight's topic. My family story. I'm the son to my parents, Nhan and Chan Lam, who were born in South Vietnam, in Saigon. They were school teachers in Vietnam. My dad was a principal, my mom was a school teacher. That's how they met. Okay. During the Vietnam War, now for those who remember during that time, the Vietnam War started because French had left that area. France had left the area. There used to be a French colony. All right? And before they left, they split the country in two, the North being communist, the South being democratic. So we were in the South. My father was enlisted in the South Vietnamese Army in 1968 and fought along with the United States to fight communism, to get rid of the communist influx from North Vietnam. All right? Now, unfortunately, during that, one of his first engagements, he was seriously injured. He was part of a platoon with several guys, several soldiers, and all of them had died except for him. Now, he had 2 bullet wounds on his left arm, and the grenade had struck near his platoon where his right ear became completely deaf, and his left ear lost about half of its hearing. And so he had lived with that disability since that incident, and unfortunately, only a few years ago, he lost completely all hearing, so now we have to use sign language. And my mom continues to speak really loudly to him because he can't hear, and a lot of people in the public think my mom is constantly abusing my dad, verbally. But we have to explain to people that it's because he can't hear. All right, he spent months of recovery after that injury. And by the way, the United States was originally involved when John F. Kennedy was still president. You guys remember his speech that yes, we must contain communism because if we don't, it will spread like cancer. And that's why the United States eventually got involved in the mid-1960s on a military level to prevent that spread. All right. Now, I want to go through something really important: perspective and perception, because everything has to do with our belief system, has to do with our perception of reality. Would you all agree? Everyone grows up with their specific reality. All right. So I want to share with you guys what the perspective and the reality was for the folks in Vietnam at the time. All right. So during the war, the North Vietnamese, known called the Viet Cong, constantly enlist and brainwash kids around 10 years old, especially boys, to be able to join into their army. All right, so they would teach them how to shoot, they would teach them how to kill, and they would teach them how to achieve victory at a young age, because when your mind is young, it's easy to brainwash you without thinking. Does that make sense? Okay. It's something immoral to do, but they had to do that to achieve victory, which unfortunately they did. Now, while this was going on in Vietnam, guess what was going on in the United States? This. You guys remember that? Okay. Woodstock. The biggest gathering of people in history, and I believe it was in New York, right? And so when you have a different perception, see, these folks were having fun and not understanding what was going on the other side of the world, okay? In fact, the only thing that helped them to be educated around the world was what? The media. And so when the media says it's always true, would you agree? No. I'm glad I'm talking to the right crowd, right? So we have, newspapers such as this saying, if the government won't stop the war, the people must stop the government. Sounds like the right thing to do. Would you agree? So because of that influence, because of that constant bombardment of that language, when you hear something enough, you tend to believe it. Would you agree? Okay? And so we have these movements, anti-war movements, everywhere. And a lot of times, these folks here have never been, this generation, all right, they may have had parents who fought in World War II. They may have had parents who fought in the Korean War, but they have not fought in the war themselves personally. So their perspective and perception was only received by what was fed to them through the media. Do you agree? All right? So because of the call to pull back our troops in the United States, the politicians had to go ahead to do what they promised so they can get elected. So in 1973, in the treaty in Paris, the United States representatives and the folks in Vietnam signed a treaty to create a ceasefire. And a ceasefire resulted in the United States military removing their military from South Vietnam, but agreeing to allow the North Vietnamese army to stay in certain parts of South Vietnam. Now, why on earth would you agree to that? Right? Would you agree? Would you know what would happen? They said they will stop fighting and you guys leave, but we'll keep our army here. How silly is that, right? It's kind of like saying that you have a bully in your household. You can stay and live in my house, but please don't punch me, right? So guess what happened after the United States left? South Vietnam fell. And in 1975, as the North Vietnamese army approached the capital of Saigon, the remaining Americans who were there at the embassy and the remaining supporting ground troops felt an obligation to rescue as many of the folks they worked with as possible. And the only way out was by helicopter at their embassy. And so that's why this picture is very famous for people trying to get up to the helicopter, which can fit only a handful of people at a time, to get over to the U.S. carrier who was patrolling the seas at the time. All right? And of course, you couldn't leave by helicopter, you left by boat. And some people died, and some people did not. Okay, some people made it. All right, so that was the fall of South Vietnam. But our journey is very specific and very important. Now, why on earth would we risk our lives to be able to come to the United States? Well, here's our journey. My parents and my family did not leave right after the fall of Saigon. My older brother was only 3 at the time, and my older sisters were not that much older, so it was very difficult to be able to manage little kids at the time. So between 75 and 79, my family decided to stay in Vietnam, hoping things would turn better. Now, before they left Vietnam, by the way, my grandparents on my parents' side were capitalists. All right, they owned a nice fishing business and they were very wealthy. Before the fall of the country, they changed all their South Vietnamese currency to a known metal that's very valuable, which is called what? Gold. Okay, because that's the only thing that retains value, not paper. No matter how much the dollar says, on the back it still says Federal Reserve Note. Instead of IOU, right? So gold holds true value. During that time when they were living under communist rule, if you expressed yourself in any negative way against a North Vietnamese soldier, against the government, against anything, execution on the spot. Okay? Or possibly jail time, if you're lucky enough. They had to ration foods off based on the size of your family. And guess who decides how much food you get? The government. And the government doesn't know how much food their kids need, how much milk they need, how much beans they need, how much protein, how much carbs and so forth. So they give whatever. But on top of that, because of corruption and no accountability, a lot of times when you're supposed to receive 20 kilograms of rice, you will get 20 kilograms in the bag, but not all of it's rice. Half of it's probably stones and rocks. Okay? So what can you do to say, well, that's not fair? Nothing. Because if you say something, what happens? Execution. Shot. Right? So guess what? Because of that hardship, finally my parents decided it's time to leave. In the middle of one night in 1979, they left on my grandfather's fishing boat. And on the fishing boat were not only my family, but also a handful of other people in South Vietnam. All right? Now this is not an exact picture because we didn't have iPhones back then. We couldn't do selfies. All right? So this is just a picture I grabbed from the internet to illustrate what I'm trying to say. All right? So our destination was to go to a refugee camp in Malaysia. And during our trip, there were constant navigational errors because all we had was a compass and a map. All right? In addition to the navigational errors, when we left Vietnam, the family carried as much of their gold as possible to start their lives over again in a new opportunity. Well, guess what? Along the way to Malaysia, they constantly got pirated by people from Thailand. At least 6 times that we know of, that I know of personally, all right? And when they robbed each time, they took more gold, more gold, more gold, until there was no gold left. And then one time, when they were pirated one last time, well, there's nothing left but their clothing, all right? The pirates did not believe my aunt, my mother's oldest sister, saying that, hey, listen, I'm going to keep your 2 kids here until you give us some gold. They kidnapped them, and as ransom. But when they found out that they called their bluff and said, well, I guess they didn't have to go, they went ahead and released the kids. Okay? But thank God we made it there. All right? In that refugee camp in Malaysia, they stayed there for 6 months. 6 months. All right? They didn't live in luxury housing like the Hilton. They lived in huts. All right? For 6 months. And the only food that was provided as humanitarian aid mostly were canned beans. Now, can you guys imagine? Thank goodness that the huts were open because there were beans. You know what I'm talking about, right? But that was an essential nutrient, and at least we survived. Now, my father did also tell me that along that way, he had to fill out some paperwork with the folks there, and they had asked him to which country does he want to go to, and he had 3 options. All right? And most people checked off Australia, United States, United Kingdom, and so forth. And all 3 options, my father wrote down United States, United States, and United States. He wanted no other option. Right? That's how serious he was and how much belief he had in the United States at that time. And he did get the paperwork that we were being sponsored by a Lutheran church in Buffalo, New York. And that's where I was born shortly after. All right? Now, he did tell me also that they were so excited about getting approved that's how I was created. I didn't even know that. So 6 months in the womb in Malaysia. All right? So by beating his parents in Malaysia, final product delivered in Buffalo, New York 4 months after they arrived. Okay? So their arrival, here they are. All right? That's my mom, my father, my older brother, my oldest sister, and my other sister. And of course, where am I? I am in the tummy. All right? So we arrived in August of 1979. I was born, Nhan, and 4 months later in the middle of a blizzard of all times. So imagine going to a tropical place and then coming to a blizzard 4 months later, right? So anyways, the Lutheran church who sponsored us, they assisted us in learning English, the American system, the culture, and the school system. My father started working part-time as a janitor. Now he was almost 40 years old. He was a well-respected principal of his school system. And he started off as a janitor, just to provide for his family a good opportunity with freedom and with the right thing. Now, a few years later, of course, here I am. I'm grown up now. All right. In fact, my 3-year-old son looks just like this. All right. And then a few years later, my younger brother was born, and I have no idea why I'm still in the stroller. I think I'm 6 years old here, and I am not very happy. All right. Anyways. My early beliefs, when I lived in Buffalo, I lived there until 1996. My parents constantly, because I was the firstborn in the United States, they constantly drilled on me on the stories, the horrific stories of what they went through to get to the United States. So that way I would not take what we have for granted. That I would show thankfulness constantly to all of our sponsors at that church, and thankfulness for the opportunity that we're still alive with the freedoms that we have today. All right? And the best way to show that gratitude and thankfulness is to work hard so you can pay it forward for others to have the same opportunity. Does that make sense? Okay? So, but the funny thing is, because I grew up in Buffalo, it wasn't the most conservative environment. Would you agree? All right? A lot of folks around me had liberal points of view. In fact, I used to deliver newspapers called the Buffalo News. The Buffalo News is a very liberal newspaper. I constantly read it because that's what I delivered, okay? And so as I read as a teenager, I started believing in certain things. Also, the school systems in Buffalo. I remember one time I was in 7th grade. One of my teachers asked us to do an assignment. She asked, are you a spender or are you a saver, and why? And my essay answer was, neither. I am an investor. I invest in opportunity for other people so that way I can save later. So that way I can spend and save at the same time. That's what I was trying to say. She said, do it over or you get an F. So real quickly, I realized I had some things in my mind that was not programmed by them, and I knew it was almost like being a rebel. Does that make sense, guys? All right. I also had debates with my father because I used to read stuff and believe it when I was younger. My father, I would tell them certain political things. At that time, President Clinton, Bill Clinton was in office, and I said all these great things about Bill Clinton at that time. And my father's only comment to me was, "You're still young." That's all he said. All right. He tried to argue with me on a couple of things, but then afterwards he gave up and said, "You're still young." All right. And that's how powerful the media is on our kids today. All right. But despite some of my liberal views early on, I still had an entrepreneurial and capitalistic spirit. How is that possible? I have no idea. Maybe it's in the genes. I don't know. All right? My beliefs today. I understand my father much more as my views of the world has matured. I understand the influence of the media. All right? I want to show you guys an example. This is something I pulled off just today. Now, this CNN article says, New York Times leaked Trump documents showing losses of $916 million. Now, mind you, I am not endorsing Trump or Hillary Clinton. I'm not endorsing anybody, but I bring this up as a point. When you first see this as a headline, Trump could legally have avoided taxes for 18 years, what will people think?
It sounds illegal.
It sounds illegal. It sounds unfair. Not fair at all. Would you agree? And because it's unfair, they're angry. And based on that anger, they act against him. Or against that candidate. Would you agree? Okay? Well, guess what? I am in real estate as well. I know why he declared a loss. That's what you do in business. If he had not declared that loss, he would not have employed tens of thousands of people. Does that make sense? Yes. All right? So there's another side of the story. All right? The impact, the media's impact on capitalism. See, the news channels, they make money based on commercials. The only way to get high-paying commercials is based on ratings. Would you agree? And the best ratings in the world, is it positive news or negative news? Negative news. Constantly. So that's what we're at with all day long. So we hear capitalists get thrown in jail, such as Bernard Madoff. Now yes, he does deserve to go to jail because he did something wrong. He stole billions of dollars. However, we never hear about the good capitalists. This is one bad capitalist. But there are thousands of good ones that we never hear about. Would you agree? Okay? Now, would you agree that there are always good students and bad students? Yes. There are good teachers and bad teachers. There are good drivers and bad drivers. Guess what? There are also good capitalists and bad capitalists, but that does not mean the system is broken. Okay? Response? I'm sorry?
You're here.
All right. Responsibility versus blame. See, wherever I am in my life today, I take full responsibility for it. What most people do is I'm not where I am because of this, because of that, because the government was refused to give me, because it's unfair, because of whatever. Responsibility over blame, all right, is what capitalism is all about. Okay? Other people's opinions versus thinking for yourself. See, most people, I have people, even my kids today, I ask them, what are your views on this or this topic? And they'll tell me something. Some of it has some independent critical thinking. Some of it sounds like something they just heard off of Facebook. All right? So I encourage them to, before they buy whatever they read's opinion, make sure you think for yourself based on facts and life experiences. And if you have not had that experience yet, reserve your judgment until you do. Make sense? Give versus take. What does give mean? Charity, providing opportunity, right? What does take mean? Please give me some food stamps. Please give me free college. Please give me free whatever, right? Now you can take, but guess what? You also give. You give up most of your potential. All right? Value versus entitlements. Entitlement means that I take value from a system. Value means I contribute to a system. See the difference in thinking, right? So here's an example. All right, how many here are college students? Raise your hand. All right, this story is for you because I was once in college as well. When I was 18 years old, I worked at NASA as a co-op student as an engineer. All right, I was blessed to be able to work there at a very early age. In fact, when I was 17, I started college. My first math class was Calculus 3. How many here took Calculus 3? I was 17. It was horrible. I was the youngest and shortest kid there. I'm still the shortest kid, right? All right, but when I stopped working at NASA after I graduated my bachelor's degree, right before I graduated, I called up NASA and I said, I have a proposition for you. You pay for my graduate school, I will continue my work. And they did, okay? But in addition to that, I said, I didn't stop there. I said, what I want to do is create an alternative for students in my undergraduate classes, because at that time in aerospace engineering, there was only one senior design class, which was aeronautical engineering, aeronautical for airplanes. And no one liked the professor. So, even me, all right? So I said I want to provide another opportunity for the students for the upcoming year, and that's called spacecraft design. So that way they can avoid that other professor. And we created that. But in addition to that, I said I want to be able to hire interns for the summer, so that way they can get work experience like I did. Now, why on earth would they agree to that? Because when I worked there, I gave them value they did not have before. And they saw that value, so they came after it further. Value. Make sense? All right? I gave them a value proposition. So in graduate school, was that I said, I put up posters like, looking for some intern? Call Nhan. And I was a graduate student. I was hiring people with a budget from NASA. All right? So in the end, those students thanked me for the opportunity because they would not have worked in a summer job if I had not provided one. So there's a perfect example. Just as a student, how you can be capitalistic and provide an opportunity for the public, but at the same time learn from creating opportunity, right, for those students so they can learn from that. All right. They always feel a need with opportunity. There was a need. Students didn't have an opportunity. They did not know where to go for an internship. So because I saw that need, I filled that need with an opportunity. That's what capitalists do. Would you all agree? Yeah. Okay? Now let's compare a little bit. Communism. What is communism? Well, a short, sweet answer. Communism states that the government should take all the capital from the dumb, stupid people and give it all to the wise, knowing state. So that way they can manage everything. And guess what? It devastated every country it touched. Would you agree? Okay? How many here have ever, the best way I can explain a communism based on real life experiences of the folks here, how many here have ever had a job where you just flat out hate your boss? Okay? One reason why you probably hated your boss was probably because they micromanage you. Would you agree? Okay? So they would say, hey, Joe, did you do this? Hey, Joe, 5 minutes, did you finish this? Hey, this wasn't done right. Hey, you didn't do a good job. They constantly bombarded you with micromanaging things. Would you agree? And would you agree you hated that? Well, just take communism, that level, 10 times worse. Can you stand communism if you can't stand your micromanaging boss? Okay? Socialism. What is socialism? It's in between communism and in between capitalism. Really, what socialism is? is the idea of a highly regulated environment for the purpose of redistributing wealth from the wealthy to the rest, based on whatever formula they created. Not based on production, but based on what they decide. Okay? What is capitalism? Capitalism is an environment that promotes innovation, that gives people the freedom to say, I'm going to create this because that's a void in the marketplace. And they have the freedom to create that, and when they produce that, and the market says that was high value, they get rewarded for that. The problem with the people today is that they say, well, so-and-so made $40 million and CEO of a company, they should not make that much. But think about it, how much value did that CEO create to the marketplace where no one else could create, right? Now, your beliefs. What are your beliefs, right? I know right now you guys are probably going to be excited from what you heard tonight, and you go back to some of your friends and family later and say, guess what I learned today? I promise you, some of them are going to say, well, guess what? Did they hypnotize you? All right? They brainwashed you. Yes, they brainwashed you. But here's the thing I want to tell you guys. Everyone gets brainwashed. Did you get brainwashed to attend school? Did you get brainwashed to get a full-time job? Did someone brainwash you to buy in on a 401k? Okay? Everyone gets brainwashed. The question is, do you like the shampoo? Alright? Do you like the shampoo? If you like the shampoo, have at it. If you don't like it, change the shampoo. Make sense, everybody? The great thing about the freedoms of our country is that we have the ability to change shampoo. Whereas in communism, you only get one shampoo, and that's it. My family today, here they are. Alright? They've multiplied. Alright? And I truly believe this is a real American family. I have my wife here, my mom, my father who just turned 72, I think, at that time. My brother-in-law, look at this, African American. My brother-in-law, Hispanic. My wife, Filipino. My sister-in-law, Caucasian. My nephew's girlfriend, or fiance, Caucasian. And I have another brother-in-law who's not here, he's Pakistani. Could you guys call it diversity? Alright? So, we all have different religions. I myself am Catholic. Alright? We have Muslim, we have Buddhist, we have Protestant, we even have atheists. Alright? Now, I have certain views, but I don't impose them on them, but we still have Christmas dinner together without any conflict. Can we do that in the United States? The problem today is the media feeds all this nonsense to create division between people. If we can sit together for dinner, for Thanksgiving and Christmas, regardless of all of our beliefs, all right, then I believe there's still hope for the United States. Would you all agree? Yes. All right. Good stuff. Our future, all right? Our family's journey was for freedom and capitalism. Freedom can be lost abruptly through war, or subtly through accepted progression. And that's what we're going through today, as Slavo and also Augustine mentioned earlier. Human nature is to abuse power. Isn't that amazing? Alright? That's why our founding fathers once said that when the country was founded, there should be, every now and then, should be a refresh of the federal government. A refresh. Because human nature always wants to abuse the power. And the refresh meaning the Congress has the responsibility of making new laws every year, and the president enforces those laws. Would you agree? Okay? But the problem is that when they make new laws, they never rescind previous laws. So the laws just keep on adding to the stack. Just think about your IRS code right now. Right? By the way, how many here know how to spell the IRS? No, spell it. The IRS. T-H-E-I-R-S. What does that spell? Theirs. Ooh. Alright? History repeats itself because we don't learn from our mistakes. Our election this year, make an intelligent decision based on our country's needs, based on your conclusion and no one else's. Alright? And I want to share this, guys, is that the best way to help those with a progressive socialist mindset is simply not be one of them. Because when you are an example and the example is successful, people will follow. And that's what leadership is all about. Thank you very much.